A tricky evening ahead for government.
Very much so, Aisling. This was a vote that the government thought it had managed to avoid, because when this Sinn Féin motion was published demanding that the site of the new National Maternity Hospital be taken into state ownership, the government decided not to oppose it, and they thought that that would be a device where, although it will be the official statement of the Dáil that the land should be owned by the state, that there wouldn't be any vote and it would be spared the political problems that might be caused by the stance of some of the Green backbenchers. But a vote has been triggered. It has been called by the rural independents. There is likely to be at least 10 people in the chamber this evening who are officially demanding that vote. And that does put the government in a sticky wicket, because two Green backbenchers, Neasa Hourigan and Patrick Costello, as you said, have announced that they will vote in favour of the Sinn Féin motion. Now, there was a brief moment this morning where it looked like the government was going to fall into line with the rest of its members, but I do understand this lunchtime that the latest government plan is to instruct their TDs to abstain on the motion, not to vote against it, but not to vote in favour of it either. And that means that if Costello and Hourigan do as they pledge they are going to do, that will put them at odds with their own government, and it could potentially mean the loss of them from the government's numbers in the Dáil. A little earlier, the Justice Minister, Helen McEntee, did accept that it probably wouldn't be possible to keep everybody on board with the proposals as they're brought forward.
I appreciate not everybody is always going to agree with all of the facts, but I do think that we have answered all of the questions, and most importantly for me, what we're after agreeing is a new framework that will develop a world-class national maternity hospital, one that will be secular, one that will be independent, and one that will provide all of the legally permissible services that I and the women of this country are entitled to.
Was 2 weeks enough time?
I believe that it was. I think any longer, you know, the questions have been answered, so I'm not sure that we need it any longer.
Now, I'm told the government whips are going to meet later this afternoon to decide exactly what the government's stance might be. They could yet decide that they might vote in favour of the Sinn Féin motion. That would spare them the prospective loss of some of their TDs, but it would also mean, embarrassingly, effectively endorsing a non-binding motion which goes against what the Cabinet itself only ratified yesterday. But if the government does proceed with its stance to abstain on this vote, and that does mean at least those two Green TDs and potentially more then breaking ranks, that could pose some long-term questions for the government. As it stands right now, the government commands the support of 82 members of the three coalition parties in the Dáil. If it were to lose Hourigan and Costello, then officially its numbers will be down to 80, and that is the minimum number needed for a majority in Dáil Éireann. There will still be other independents who will support them on a case-by-case basis, but it means that the government's working majority to get legislation through the Dáil would now be at its most minimal, and that means that it also would be worth watching to see whether there are other Green TDs, the likes of Marco Kohasik perhaps, who have stated before that they want this site to remain in public ownership. We haven't heard from them yet. Their stance is also in question this lunchtime.
OK, Gavan, thank you very much for that.